You'd know if you wanted to. But the great part about these guys is, yeah, they get about 6 feet, but very colorful, moderately sized. And what's really nice is since they do climb trees, they oftentimes are out in the open, up on branches, perching, whereas a lot of snakes that you have as pets, like say the ball python or the milk snake, they're always hiding. They're under their bedding or in their hiding spot. These guys are out perched up on a branch, up in your cage. They're just a nice animal to have. And they're moderately sized. There's a close relative to this snake called the coastal carpet python, and those guys get about 12 to 14 feet, so they get quite a bit bigger than these guys do. So these are a brighter animal than the coastal carpet, and they're smaller, and they often get a heavier body, whereas the coastals are more long and slender. But like, say, the ball python and the milk snakes, these guys have been bred for color morphs too, and there's also a lot of just natural variation in these guys. They've also been hybridized with other carpet pythons, things like that. But definitely one of the most popular snakes in the last 10 years compared to its popularity in previous years. They've really become a lot more established in the industry. But just a fantastic snake. You really can't go wrong with owning one of these guys. And they only live about 20 years. So not nearly as long as, say, the ball python. But this is a rainforest species, so it's living in wetter climates. It's not a desert type of python, which most of the pythons in Australia live in the deserts. These guys are up in the lush tropical rainforest, up in the canopy. In fact, a snake like this may never even touch the ground in its whole life. So, now granted, some do come down, but there are situations where they'll live in the trees pretty much their whole life. They hatch out of an egg and they crawl straight up to the nearest tree, and they'll move from tree to tree, no problem. Because in the rainforest canopy, everything's very close, so they can go straight from one tree to another. Very, very, I mean, he can anchor himself, you can see, no problem. So he can go anywhere he needs to go. Snakes have backbones, they're vertebrate animals, and they have over 400 ribs. And they're just a solid piece of muscle. So these guys are just, it's like a giant bicep. They're incredibly powerful animals. And you know, this particular species, constricting species, use that constriction to capture and kill their prey. Now there's a common misconception that snakes suffocate their prey. They do not suffocate their prey. They actually constrict it so tightly that the animal actually has a heart attack. It actually stops the flow of blood to the heart, thus causing a cardiac arrest. And that'll happen before death from lack of oxygen. So just amazing power in these animals. And some of the giant constrictors can have many, many thousands of pounds of force. So let's open it up for some questions, whether it's exotics or native Wisconsin stuff. You got a question?